Okay, so today our topic of discussion is the ester hydrolysis. You all have read about the ester hydrolysis, but do you know there are 8 types of ester hydrolysis mechanisms? So today we will discuss all those 8 types of ester hydrolysis mechanisms in details. So first consider an ester molecule. This is an ester molecule. So during the hydrolysis, you all know that ester molecule can be hydrolyzed by either H plus or OH minus. So there are two possible bond breaking which can lead to ester hydrolysis. So the most obvious one is this carbon oxygen bond. So this is a acyl group and this is obviously oxygen atom. So if this bond breaks, then it is termed as acyl oxygen cleavage. And if there is also a possibility of breaking of this OR2 bond. If this OR2 bond breaks, then it called the alkyl oxygen cleavage. Obviously this is an alkyl group and this is the oxygen atom, and that's why it's called the alkyl oxygen cleavage. Okay, so the hydrolysis can be done by either H plus or OH minus. The two types of bond breaking can involve. One is acyl oxygen cleavage and another is alkyl oxygen cleavage. And there are two possibilities of the molecularity of this reaction. It can either be unimolecular or bimolecular. Okay, so considering these three aspects, the ester hydrolysis mechanisms are designated as okay. So in this part we will denote it either acid catalyzed or base catalyzed. A stands for acid catalyzed, B stands for base catalyzed, AC stands for acyl oxygen cleavage, AL stands for alkyl oxygen cleavage, and 1 obviously stands for unimolecularity and 2 stands for bimolecularity. Okay, so let's start with our first mechanism, which is AAC1, that is acid catalyzed unimolecular ester hydrolysis, which involves the acyl oxygen cleavage. Okay, so what will be the mechanism? Okay, in ester hydrolysis as well as in esterification reaction, all steps are in equilibrium. Okay, so the hydrogen plus can attach with this oxygen atom or this oxygen atom. If this sp2 hybridized oxygen atom and this sp3 hybridized oxygen atom, if the hydrogen plus is attached with the sp2 one, then the mechanism will be AAC2, which we will discuss later. And if this H plus is attached with the sp3 oxygen atom, then the mechanism will be AAC1, which we are discussing now. So after attachment of the proton, the intermediate will look like this. And now we can see that the carbon oxygen bond is now activated, and it will break to generate this carbocation and the alcohol molecule. This carbocation is very unstable in nature, and it will obviously be stabilized by the assistance of the oxygen lone pair, which will in turn generate this acylinium cation. So what is the difference of these two, stability of these two carbocation? You can see that in this carbocation the carbon has only the sextate filled up, but which is extremely unstable. But in this case you can see that the positive charge is on the oxygen atom, but the oxygen has its octet filled up. So there is the lone pair, and there is three covalent bond. So 3 into 2, 6 bond electrons, and these 2 non-bonding electrons. In a total 8 electrons oxygen have in its outer shell. So that's why its octet is filled up, and that's why the acylinium cation is very stable. So after that, this carbocation will be attacked by the nucleophile, which is water in this case, and pi bond will break to neutralize the positive charge over the oxygen atom. Excuse me. And this intermediate, the protonated carboxylic acid, will form, which will lose a proton, and finally the carboxylic acid will form. So this is our desired carboxylic acid, and this is our desired alcohol molecule. So this is the total AAC1 mechanism. So why it is unimolecular? Because in the rate determining step, what is the rate determining step of this reaction? Obviously the slowest one. So which step was the slowest one? You can see that the first step is the protonation step, which is obviously not very slow, it is fast. The next step is the breaking of this carbon oxygen sigma bond. Obviously this step is the slowest step, and it is the rate determining step. Why it's so? Because the carbon oxygen sigma bond is very stable, and it is very reluctant to undergo a dissociation. So this step is the slowest step, and it is the rate determining step. And after that, the nucleophilic attack step is obviously a fast step, because this intermediate is susceptible to undergo a nucleophilic attack, and this step is also fast step. So obviously the rate determining step is this one, and you can see that in the rate determining step there is only one species involved, and that's why its molecularity is 1, and it's called the AAC1 mechanism. Okay, so let's go to the AAC2 mechanism. Okay, we have seen that protonation of the sp3 oxygen atom leads us to the AAC1 mechanism. So if the protonation takes place in the sp2 hybridized oxygen atom, then this intermediate will form. After the formation of this intermediate, this carbon oxygen double bond is now activated and is susceptible to undergo a nucleophilic attack. Obviously the nucleophile is water molecule, which will attack this carbon center, and this carbon oxygen double bond will cleave to neutralize the positive charge over the oxygen atom, and the new intermediate will look like this. obviously either of this OH or this OH bond will cleave in order to neutralize this oxygen positive charge, and a neutral intermediate will formed. And now either of these two OH bond will cleave, and this OR2 group will leave as the leaving group. So if we break this bond, the OR2 group will leave, this will lead us to the formation of the carboxylic acid as well as the R2O minus, which will obviously capture a proton immediately after its formation, or you can highlight it as when this carbon oxygen bond is breaking, the bond pair will immediately abstract a H plus from the reaction medium. Then you don't have to highlight it here. Okay, so you obtain the carboxylic acid molecule and as well as the so you got the carboxylic acid and you got the alcohol molecule. So this is a acid-2 mechanism. Okay, one more important aspect of this reaction is, in the previous one, what is the type of substitution reaction it was? It is a substitution reaction, obviously, because the OR2 group is replaced by a water molecule or OH group. So it is obviously a substitution reaction. So what we all know that there are three types of substitution reaction: SN1, SN2 and SNI for aliphatic systems. Forget about the aromatic systems. So in case of aliphatic system, there are SN1, SN2 and SNY, these three types of mechanism. So which type of mechanism is this one? Obviously you can see that the redetermining step involves the formation of a carbocation and it is unimolecular, so it is SN1. Okay, and what is the substitution pattern for this one? The redetermining step for this one is which one? Obviously this one is the redetermining step, because this is the slowest step, the breaking of this carbon oxygen sigma bond. In the rest of the steps there are only the involvement of breaking of pi bond. Okay, only in this step the carbon oxygen bond is breaking. So this is the highest, for this step highest energy requirement is involved, and that's why this is the redetermining step and the slowest step also. Okay, so this is the redetermining step, and in this step you can see that only this intermediate is involved. But if you look carefully, the formation of this intermediate involves the attack of a water molecule, which is the second step, first step, second step, third step, fourth step. Okay, so in the second step you can see that the water molecule attacking this intermediate, and that's why the concentration of both water molecule and this intermediate is involved in the fourth step also, and that's why its molecularity is 2. Okay, so we have understood its molecularity, we have understood which bond is breaking, that is the acyl oxygen bond, and obviously this is acid catalyzed, and finally which type of substitution reaction this is. This is neither SN1 neither SN2, and also it is not SN1 type, it is not SN1 type. So which type of mechanism is this substitution mechanism? The term coined for this specific substitution reaction, in which a carbonyl group is converted first into a sp3 tetrahedral intermediate and then the departure of the leaving group taking place. This type of mechanism is called tetrahedral substitution. Okay. Tetrahedral substitution. Okay, so next we will go to the third reaction, which is AAL1. In this case we will consider the cleavage of the alkyl oxygen, and which is acid catalyzed and unimolecular in nature. So what will be the mechanism? The mechanism will be look like this. So we have to break this bond now. We have breaked the carbon oxygen bond in the previous two mechanisms. Now we have to break this oxygen alkyl oxygen carbon bond. To do so, first the attachment of the proton is necessary with the oxygen atom, which is the sp3 hybridized one, and the attachment will gives rise to this intermediate, and then okay, this oxygen is now positively charged, and then the breaking of this OR2 bond will take place to generate this carboxylic acid and a carbocation. This carbocation, which is very unstable in nature, will then undergo a nucleophilic attack by water molecule in order to generate the protonated alcohol molecule, which will then lose a proton to ultimately generate the desired alcohol molecule. So this is the AAL1 mechanism. So the redetermining step is the number 2 step. This is the RTS. Obviously this is a slow step which involves the breaking of the carbon oxygen sigma bond, and obviously the bond is the alkyl oxygen bond, and it is of course acid catalyzed. That's why it is AAL1. So which type of substitution taking place in this case? You can see that the OR2 bond is breaking without the assistance of any nucleophile. If there are any type of assistance by nucleophile or any secondary nucleophile, then the reaction mechanism will become the SN2 type. The substitution pattern will become then SN2 type, but in this case the intermediate is breaking its own oxygen carbon bond without the assistance of any other species, and that's why it is SN1 type mechanism, or rather SN1 type substitution. Okay, so it is clear now for you guys. Okay, so let's go to the fourth one. Which is AAL2, that is acid catalyzed bimolecular ester hydrolysis involving alkyl oxygen cleavage. First of all, the protonation will take place to generate this intermediate, and then the nucleophile, which is water molecule, will attack this carbon center, and this alkyl oxygen bond will break, which will afford this carboxylic acid molecule along with the protonated alcohol, which will then lose a proton to generate the desired neutral alcohol molecule. So look at this mechanism, it is very simple. You can obviously understand that the redetermining step is SN2 type. SN2 type, obviously the water molecule is now assisting the breaking of this carbon oxygen sigma bond, and that's why the substitution is of SN2 type. Okay, so these are the 4 types of Ester hydrolysis mechanisms which involves the acid catalysis. We will now look the rest 4 mechanisms which are involving the base catalysis. BAC1, that is the base catalyzed unimolecular ester hydrolysis involving the acyl oxygen cleavage. Okay, since it is base catalyzed reaction, so there are no activation of any kind of bond, that is no activation for pi bond or rather double bond, or no activation for any sigma bond. So direct bond breaking will take place. So for the BAC1, which involves the breaking of a acyl oxygen bond, that is this bond, the ester molecule will dissociate its own acyl oxygen bond in order to generate this cation along with R2O-. This cation will be stabilized through the involvement of this oxygen lone pair, which we have seen in a previous example, and this carbocation will, acylinium ion will form, which then will undergo the attack by the OH minus in order to generate the carboxylic acid. So now the since the medium is basic, the carboxylic acid, whenever it forms, it will immediately lose its proton, and this step will be okay. So this step is also a reversible step. And this alcohol minus alkoxide group will abstract a proton from the water molecule to become neutral. So this is the mechanism for BAC1, that is base catalyzed unimolecular ester hydrolysis involving acyl oxygen cleavage. So what is the redetermining step? Obviously the first step is the redetermining step. Which type of substitution reaction is this? Obviously SN1. So that's it, this is the BAC1 mechanism. Next we will go to the BAC2. Okay, BaC2. In case of BaC2, the reaction is bimolecular, so there is an involvement of the nucleophile. Okay. In the previous example, there are no involvement of the nucleophile in the redetermining step, but now there will be the involvement of the nucleophile. The nucleophile in this case is OH minus. So this will attack the carbon oxygen, the carbon atom, and the carbon oxygen double bond will break to form this negatively charged intermediate. So this is a tetrahedral intermediate that was sp2 hybridized. This is now sp3 hybridized center, and in the next step this negative charge will form the carbon oxygen, new carbon oxygen double bond, and this OR2 group will leave as a leaving group, which will generate the carboxylic acid and the alkoxide anion. Then there will be a rapid movement of the H plus from the carboxylic acid towards the alkoxide anion. The carboxylic acid will lose a proton, and that proton will be abstracted by the alkoxide anion. So these are the two products of this mechanism. So what is the redetermining step? Obviously this will be the redetermining step. Which type of substitution is this? Obviously SN2, since the OH minus sorry, this is not SN2 type, this is, and this is also not the redetermining step. The redetermining step is this one. And which type of substitution is this? Obviously tetrahedral substitution. Mechanism. Okay, very simple. Next type is BAL1, that is the base catalyzed unimolecular alkyl oxygen cleavage. In this case also the carbon oxygen, this oxygen alkyl oxygen bond will break without the assistance of any nucleophile. The nucleophile in this case is OH minus, since between OH minus and water the more nucleophilic property, which species has a more nucleophilic property? Obviously the OH minus. That's why it is the nucleophile in case of basic medium, but in case of acidic medium the nucleophile will be H2O, obviously. So in the first step the alkyl oxygen bond will break without the assistance of the OH minus, and this will lead to the carboxylate anion along with a carbocation. The carbocation will then rapidly combine with the OH minus to generate the desired alcohol, and in the previous step we have obtained the carboxylate anion. So very simple mechanism, BAL1. The first step, obviously the redetermining step, which involving the sigma bond, carbon oxygen sigma bond breaking. And what will be the substitution type? Obviously it will be SN1 type. So it is clear now, BAL1. Then we will go into BAL2, and this is the last mechanism. So the first step will involve the sorry, in this case the first step is the reaction between the OH minus with the ester molecule. Since the alkyl oxygen bond is cleaving in this step, the OH minus will attack this R2 group and this sigma bond will break to generate the carboxylate anion along with the alcohol molecule. Only one step is required in case of BAL2. Obviously this is the only step and this is the determining step, and it is of SN2 type. So all 8 types of mechanisms are discussed. If you have any question or any doubt, you can leave a comment in the under the video, and any questions will be answered properly. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please like this video and share it among your friends. It will be very much appreciated. Thank you for watching this video.